Well, okay, let me say hi to our audience. So, as you know, Good News from Southeast Asia, we are covering not only Malaysia, Indonesia, but also Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, the rest of Southeast Asian countries. And as you saw one of the videos from Brunei Darussalam as well, and also from Australia. And we also had speakers coming from India, from Bangladesh as well. So we are trying to give more spices and diversities in our programs. So yeah, and we're very happy to have you to spice things up on our program, talking about different aspects and topics and issues that, of course, not many people might know about what Peranakan is, but of course, like people in Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Brunei, they might be familiar with that. But then I believe people in the rest of Southeast Asia, they need to learn more about it. So and also it's also a good opportunity for you to tell everybody to join and attend the conference in November. And I'm excited as well to see like how it looks like, how big that is, and then what kind of ceremonies, rituals, or cultural performances that I would like to see, and then the food, of course, the food and the gifts, the souvenirs, the handicrafts that people are showcasing and displaying during the conference. All right, without further ado, let me say hi. Good afternoon, everyone in Southeast Asia. I'm Muhammad Reza from the Good News from Southeast Asia. Today we have a very, very special guest, a very young and energetic, multi-talented lady who is based in Malaysia. Um, Vivian Lee Sui Lian. Correct me if I pronounce your name incorrectly. And she's the president of the Persatuan Baba and Nyonya in Kuala Lumpur and Selangor. Also a wife, a mother, a grandmother, an activist, a yoga and mindful teacher, and some other roles that she would not share with you, because otherwise it will be like a train from KL to Bangkok if she has to mention all of that roles, important roles. I think it's very important to be staying active as a person from Southeast Asia, not only because we need to promote our culture, but also to sort of bridge the cultural divides and the cultural gaps. And today with Miss Vivian, we'll be talking about the Baba and Nyonya stories, the Southeast Asia legacy on Peranakan, exploring the Peranakan heritage that bridges cultures, traditions, and identities across Southeast Asia. But I'm sure that Peranakan also exists beyond Southeast Asia, and then we'll hear more from Miss Vivian this afternoon. All right, now again, that was just a brief information about Miss Vivian, but throughout this 1 hour, in the next 1 hour, we'll have a lot of time, and then feel free to ask any questions. We are also live on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And so if you have any questions, just write down your questions and I will read it out loud for her. All right. First, Miss Vivian, what does the term Peranakan mean, and how did this community come to be in Southeast Asia? And do you think this community also exists beyond or outside Southeast Asia?
Hi Reza, nice that we finally get to meet this way. And thank
Yeah.
you for the very brief introduction. Any longer than that, and I think the program's over. Um, anyway, back to your question. Yes, as I said earlier, I didn't know we were being recorded. I think you captured some of it. That the word Peranakan doesn't just apply to Peranakan Cina yang berasal dari Malacca, who originated from the state of Malacca, even though we like to think it all began there. But you see, even in Malaysia, we have the Peranakan Cina, which is Baba Nyonya. We have Peranakan Jawi, who are actually Indian Muslims who intermarried with the Malays. Then we have the Peranakan Chitty. I mean, very broad strokes, yeah? Southern
Yeah.
Indian Hindu
Interesting.
and Malay.
Yeah.
And they are found mainly in Malacca. And then there's the Peranakan Arab, which
Yeah.
the Arabs also came to these parts, many centuries ago, and they married the locals. You can find quite a number in Singapore, and I was told Surabaya and Semarang. So you
Wow.
see, yeah,
Means
why?
that.
The word Peranakan, as you know, I think in your lingo,
Yeah.
is derived from the word anak. And anak means child in our language, yours, and also Tagalog. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it means I like to think of it as locally born. And when we add the prefix per and the suffix kan, the whole thing, it means descendant, like you're a descendant of this place. So
Right.
generally, we never talk about, say, a second generation or even third that way. We talk
Yeah.
about very long, cultures and ethnicities who have existed for quite some time.
Mhm.
Then we apply this term peranakan to them.
Thanks. And so since you mentioned different types of Peranakan, are you implying that anybody who has, for example, parents of mixed cultures or mixed ethnicities, we can call them as Peranakan, or how does it describe basically?
Yeah, there is a lot of controversy over that.
Yeah.
Because as I said, we'd like it to be multi-generational,
Mhm,
having
mhm,
been in the country where the Peranakan exists.
mhm.
And more typically, that group of people would have their own cuisine, customs,
Right.
manner of speaking, and costumes. And speaking for mine, we even have our own type of music and dance and everything. So it's complete.
Right.
So when I say kita orang peranakan, it is with pride.
Right. And having said that, the your own costume, are you wearing this Peranakan costume at the moment? And can you like show us a glimpse of how it looks like
Oh
um
dear.
a
So,
Peranakan
okay,
costume?
it's a kabaya, which is
Right.
fastened in the middle with three pins usually, which I'm at home, so I'm not wearing the three pins.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
mine is cotton, but it's a home piece. It's made of cotton, and yet it has lovely embroidery. It's
Oh
got
wow.
pointed, I don't know if you can see, but it's got pointy edges.
Yeah.
And it's usually worn with a batik sarong. A batik
Interesting.
sarong. Yeah.
Interesting. So, and having like wearing this sort of beautiful costume, like, would you share a personal story or family story that illustrate the Peranakan experience? Like, how do you experience, or is it a normal like customary tradition or practice if you're wearing this Peranakan costume every day, or what's the practice in Malaysia?
Um, it's okay. I have a personal story for you because you asked me for one, but it's not
Yeah,
related to the costume. So you get the costume story first, and then you get the personal story later.
sure.
But about the costume, both first I have to qualify, yeah, that I am 10th generation Nyonya because of this Peranakan. Someone asked me just yesterday, what's the difference between a Peranakan and a Nyonya? Because he had been watching the movies. I said,
Yeah.
no, Peranakan is the entire group. And within the group, the gentlemen are called Baba,
Mhm,
which
mhm.
I learned is from a Hindi word actually, where you call your elders Baba.
Uh-huh.
And then Nyonya. I have
Yeah.
a theory about that. So the women are called Nyonya because once upon a time, I don't know if it's still being practiced now, but the Portuguese referred to ladies of a certain stature as Dona, Dona or Ha,
Interesting.
Dona, a soft sound. So you can
Yeah.
see how it happened. In Asia, where the Portuguese, I mean, they were a very powerful colonial force, so they were in
Yeah.
many countries in Asia. You would go
Yeah.
up and say Doña, Doña, and speak to her that way, and it became
Mhm.
softened and became Nyonya.
Nyonya, right.
Yeah.
And the Portuguese was also in Malacca at the time. So
Oh,
that's
from 1511 for 130 years.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so back to
So
the costume. I'm digressing as usual. So back to the
yeah.
costume, both because I'm 10th generation on my mom's side and seventh on my
Huh.
father's side. So both
Yeah.
my grandmothers were true blue Nyoñas. In fact, they were born and bred in Singapore, but at that time it didn't matter because we were part of the Straits settlements. It was Malacca,
Right.
Singapore, and Penang, founded in I think
Mhm.
around 1850. The British decided to make these three their administrative capitals in the peninsula.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
because don't forget, Singapore was still part of Malaya. And so
Yeah.
it was very common. All marriages, I think my father was born in 28. So I don't know, from 1920 to 25, the marriages at that time were still match made. And you had to find someone of the Baba had to marry a Nyonya, preferably from a good family. I don't know what the
Yeah.
criteria is, sorry.
Yeah.
Preferably the same standing, stature, and you know, a matchmaker would have been involved. So
Right.
both my grandmothers were, I like to say, imported into Malacca from Singapore, and
Mhm.
they wore the kabaya every single day.
Oh wow.
Every single day of their
Yeah.
lives. I never saw them in any other type of clothing. There is a kabaya for home use, which is
Yeah.
cotton, maybe not even as elaborate as this, but it has an edging
Very
anyway.
elaborate. Yeah.
Very light cotton, almost muslin that they worked with, they did their everyday chores with. And
Mhm.
then, especially my paternal grandmother, whom I was very close to, the minute she had to step out of the house, she would wear a beautiful voile or casarubia one, fully embroidered. And I would like, whoa, where are you going?
And is it worn for like specific and special occasion, or can anybody wear it anytime of the year or
Um,
of the week?
yeah, it was
Or
just
it was just the culture and
yeah.
tradition of the people back then, historically speaking. Do you know?
Come again? What was the question?
Like, can anybody wear that any time of the week, and or is it only worn during the special occasions, or or it was just the tradition of the people back then that they just wear very articulate and elaborate and beautiful costume outside or any day of the week?
I think it was unique and particular to
Yeah,
the Nuñas.
yeah,
If they were well brought up and from a certain type of family, they wore the kabaya with pride. Um,
yeah.
because I looked around me and some of the neighbors on our street were not Nonyas. They
Mhm.
spoke Chinese, which was a big telling sign because in Malacca, we did not speak any Chinese dialect, only Bahasa, a kind of, we'll talk about that later, right? A kind of
Yeah,
Malay at
yeah.
home
Uh-huh.
and English, lots of English.
Yeah.
Both my grandmothers made sure they read the papers. They read the papers cover to cover every morning. Both my
Mhm.
grandmothers were educated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but uh, but the neighbors were not, and they didn't wear that. I realized they wore the Chinese top with the frog buttons, or they wore a blouse and pants, right, when they were going about their everyday
Right.
chores. Even in Malacca,
Yeah.
so it was the Nonyas that wore the kabaya. And yes, just to hail a trishaw to go to the doctor for a checkup, she would wear her gorgeous kabaya, my grandmother.
Wow, interesting. And having been influenced by probably your grandparents and then the tradition that is passed on from generation to generation, how did the Peranakans contribute to the cultural and economic development of Southeast Asia, especially probably in Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, and Brunei?
Right. So that was a difficult question, I must say, when I saw your list. Um, Peranakan's contribution to development, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Actually, it all starts, if I have to say, it starts from their basic training. And, Reza, we have to go all the way back, that the men were actually Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
They came from mostly from Fujian or other parts of southern China.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they came to seek opportunities and to do trade.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
They did not bring their women folk. Women folk did not travel the seven seas or on ships at that time.
Right, with them.
So, yeah, they left their sisters, mothers, and
Yeah.
maybe some had wives at home, and they
Yeah.
came, to take the silk route, the pepper route, and
Right.
did all kinds of things and very, very active, I would say, from the 15th century
Mm-hmm.
right until after World War II.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
Yeah.
in Malacca today, you will see the names of prominent Peranakans on many roads and historic bridges. And that
Uh-huh.
should tell you
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Not only did they work very hard and prospered, but they believed in giving back. They were many then and now are philanthropists.
Interesting. Oh, wow.
Do
So they're
you think,
like that to the
I put it to
community.
you, do you think it's got something to do with, I mean, Babas, in my research, yeah, I read up a
Yeah.
bit. They were and are usually Buddhist Taoists. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
today many are Christians, and many have married other races and adopted other religions. But at that time, we're talking about the 1500s to the early 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them were Buddhists
Mm-hmm.
and still clinging on to Confucian values, because Confucius, he had a big impact, right, in the whole of
Yeah.
Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
So I
Exactly.
remember my grandfather, lecturing us and giving us advice, and it all had hints of Confucianism. Like one of it is those who work on ethics and on their own ethics and moral values and good behavior will undoubtedly positively impact themselves and those around them. So if you can see that if you live by that precept,
Yeah.
your ethics, your moral
Yeah.
values, because you're part of your family, then your family is part of society and your society is part of the world.
Exactly. Yeah. So now you are saying that this Confucianism, do you think those are some of the unique traditions and customs that are characteristic of the Peranakan community, like the values, the philosophical thoughts and school of
Definitely,
yeah.
definitely. Because I looked up some for your sake. I looked up our anak Melaka, one very famous one. Two
Yeah.
of them actually from the same family are Tun Tan Cheng Lock,
Yeah.
who fought for the rights and welfare of the Chinese in
Mhm.
Malaya, now Malaysia.
Yeah.
And he was the founder of the first, he was the founder and first president of the Malayan Chinese Association he was in 1883. And there was him, and then also his son, the late Tun Tan Siew Sin,
Yeah.
also adopted all his values and became our first finance minister after independence.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
they were
Yeah.
both true blue babas, yeah. And
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
road they lived in is a double house today. That time it was called Heeren Street, Heeren being a Dutch name, is
Yeah.
now called Jalan Tun Tan Cheng Lock.
So in a way that we can quickly sum up, actually the Peranakan community has contributed in a way to the development of say Malaysia today, the modern day Malaysia, economically and then governance wise, and in different aspects of the life of Malaysians today, right?
Not just Malaysia, Reza,
Yeah.
because you may have heard of, I mean, today it exists, the Tan Tock Seng Hospital in Singapore,
Right,
originally
exactly.
built just for the poor who could not afford hospitals, and that he was a Baba.
Uh-huh.
And you would have heard of Tan Chin Tuan, a prominent banker He was Peranakan too, banker, philanthropist who founded OC. He didn't found, he was general manager, managing director, president, on and on and on for so many years that people associate him with
Right.
OCBC, Overseas Chinese Banking
Oh,
Corporation,
wow.
Babatu.
Well,
Yeah, so there you have it, right? You're a bit frozen. Is it my
I
computer?
would say, I would say that definitely the Peranakan community is developing and contributing on so many different dimensions of not only in Malaysia but also Singapore. But I believe, the existence, the presence of OCBC Bank in Indonesia also
Oh,
was the product or the byproduct of these Peranakan communities for
oh,
hundreds
you
of
have it in
uh,
Indonesia too, yeah?
yeah, we
Banking
have
system.
the OCBC Bank. So now, like, not only the economic aspect, how has the Peranakan language and dialect evolved over time, and what role does it play in preserving their cultural heritage? Again, the cultural heritage in this sense, not only about the culture itself, but also like the way they think, their perspective, their mindset, their school of thought, and then how they view like the economic importance, as you mentioned, like how they get involved in the banking system.
Um, You've jumped. You've asked me about the language and then gone to banking systems. So I'm going to talk about the language first, if you don't mind. So
Sure,
the
yeah,
language is it's interesting and dear to me because I speak it, and I'm very proud
yeah,
because it cannot happen, Reza, if say one member of the marriage or the family is not Baba or Nyonya, because as you know, it takes two to communicate. So
yeah,
sometimes, yeah, well, I'm just speaking for my own home.
yeah,
I was very lucky that my parents spoke English to each other all day. But then I would say 30% of the time they would revert, they would go back to their comfort level, which is their own patois. Now we call it a patois, Patois, a French word, because it's not a full-fledged, fully developed language. It
mhm,
is the Malay language with a lot of English, Hokkien, and other things thrown in.
right, yeah,
Like Creole, you know?
yeah. So you
So,
create your own language with additional languages borrowed from other
yes,
languages. Yeah,
yes. And yeah,
wow,
and Portuguese, sorry, I forgot. And
yeah,
third one was a lot of Portuguese words. So and Dutch maybe. So we speak it very fast,
yeah,
and we're very comfortable with it. And you know how it came about, I think, Reza, is
yeah,
so again, we start with this Chinese man who came and then
yeah,
married the local women. And local at that time could be Malay, could be Sumatran, could
yeah,
be, well, she could be of Javanese origin, Batak, Minangkabau, right?
yeah.
And and who teaches you language? Reza, who do you talk to when you first open your eyes as a baby? It's
Our
your mother tongue.
parents, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So the mother spoke Malay to the children,
Ah,
right?
interesting, yeah,
Yeah, so that's how we all ended up speaking Malay
yeah,
in
and,
Malacca anyway.
yeah, and
Later, Penang Peranakan speak a lot of Hokkien,
yeah,
and so do the Singaporeans. I don't
yeah,
know why we don't do so much. I don't know. Is it because, some would say it's more pekat, it's more undiluted in Malacca, where we speak so much Malay and our own form. Somebody
yeah.
called bastardized Malay. I don't like that word at all. I don't like that term at all. I like to think, I like to think it's our own
Mother tongue.
lovely musical version. And can I tell you a little story? Um,
Sure, yeah,
it's um, it's a dialect, I think, extracted from the fuller Malay language, and we have words like almari and careta, which is Portuguese, and
yeah,
nanas is Portuguese, and Dutch
yeah,
words like alroji, gaji,
right,
and rokok. Those are Dutch words, right?
yeah,
All those words. Now, I have a friend whose husband is Indonesian, So one day we sat down and I said, can we order chicken and fish and kepiting? And he said, what did you just say? I said, kepiting. And he said, how did you come to use that word? I said, my family says kepiting. And he said, oh, no, that's an Indonesian word because Malaysians say ketam.
Right. Interesting. Two different,
Ketam.
one same thing.
So and it's there's a word for it. What is it? Onomatopoeia, right? Our your language is so you know what it is? Kapit kapit kapit. So
Yeah.
kapiting. It just
Yeah.
crap.
Right. Crap. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we went on a whole hour of we say kuping. My language is kuping,
Yeah.
but Malays say telinga.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I say ranjang. Malays say katil.
Yeah.
And so we went on and on. So then I thought, okay, it's quite obvious where our roots and foremothers, people say talk a lot of forefathers, but where did our roots and foremothers come from?
Interesting. And since you have said about the Portuguese influence, and since I was in Timor-Leste the last few days, and of course the influence of Portuguese culture and history, tradition were very, very strong in the country that you can
Oh,
see anywhere. And I've seen a lot of traders who are of probably Chinese descent because in front of their shops they wrote like I don't understand. I think it's Chinese scripts and alphabets. And do you think, or do you have any information whether, I mean, like I didn't delve deeper into that, but do you have any information or any members coming from the Timor-Leste society that, I don't know, that, or probably anybody of Peranakan community has reached out to you from Timor-Leste?
not really. I'm sorry, no. So
Interesting.
do you think they were, are you saying that they were Baba Nyonya? Are you saying you suspect they're of Peranakan descent over there?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. Because again, since you've mentioned about the Portuguese influence several times, and Portuguese was heavily influencing Timor-Leste for so many years before Timor-Leste was part of Indonesia, and then it gained independence from Indonesia. It was heavily influenced by the Portuguese culture and tradition. I think it's very important to look into that sort of cultural diversity in the country, in the
It's
sense.
very hard to say, isn't it, Reza? Because in that area and many areas around there, they wear the kabaya anyway, right? For us, it's like a symbol, a demarcating point. But for you all, like the kabaya is such an accepted mode of dress. It's de rigueur almost.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, they're just wearing modern day outfits. So
Oh,
I couldn't really tell if they were really Baba and Nyonya in Timor-Leste, but I can tell from their sort of physical appearance, and then the way they run their shop, and then the way they name their shops. I can tell probably they at some point they could probably claim themselves as a part of Peranakan itself in Timor-Leste.
okay. I will look into that and get back to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I think they have a big potential because I believe some of the big shops as I've seen in the capital city of Delhi, they're run by the Peranakan community. So I think it's always important to look into it because if you plan to invite more or new members for the conference in November,
Correct.
it will be
Correct.
good to get new people on board, right?
Well, because we know that we already have a very strong presence in many parts of Sumatra, for example, and
Yeah.
Jakarta has so many associations. I mean, has more
Yeah.
associations. Yeah, and they are active,
Yeah.
active Babas and Nyonyas there. They proudly say they are Baba Nyonya. China Tionghoa, who are Peranakan, they say.
Yeah, and we have a lot of restaurants of like I think one of the famous restaurants is called Dapur Baba.
Oh,
which is
there you
kind of
go.
like what Peranakan fusion cuisine, which is quite famous among the people in Jakarta.
There
So
you go.
yeah,
Oh, so
yeah,
you've already bridged that next question,
yeah,
which you asked me just now about the role of Peranakans in trade and commerce.
right, yeah. So
So
what followed
I'm not really sure, this part I tried to do some research and
Mhm.
not much has been written about why they came. I do know that mm, the stories of our ancestors were that they did not like Manchurian rule at that time in China, and they really did not like having to have their hair in that queue, shaved up with a pigtail.
Yeah,
So it's a bit, some of them left the country, maybe like, they were a bit rebellious or just
yeah,
on the pretext of let's find a job elsewhere. But
yeah.
um, from later years, I found out that many came as traders. And don't
Hmm.
forget, this was an important, that tiny Straits of Malacca was very, very important. It was an important port because you have to pass that way to get
Yeah,
to the other side. So
exactly.
spices, silks, and my particular family, my dad's side, they told me that they were porcelain traders. They had a
Wow.
factory back in China making
Uh-huh.
porcelain, and they would go
Yeah,
back and forth. Don't forget, the journey is 6 months long by
yeah.
boat.
Back then,
The
yeah,
ship. So they would create stuff and beautiful items
yeah.
and bring them to Singapore, Malacca, and Penang for sale.
Mhm.
And later, a lot of these people you'll find um, worked on rubber plantations, eventually owning them.
Wow. In
Yes.
In
So
Malaysian Peninsula.
yes, yes. A lot of Babas, I think, made their fortune. We like to say made their fortune in rubber.
Interesting.
Because it was a major export for us, major.
Yeah,
At
yeah,
one time,
yeah. It
rubber
was
was
one of
needed
the
for everything. The advent of the wheel, the tire.
yeah, it was one of the most sought commodities back then, right? I
Right,
think even until today. So
correct.
yeah,
So
and
then tin came later. Don't get us mistaken with tin. We were not very involved in tin
mhm,
because tin was later. And I think
right,
there were that by that time there were many Hakkas and
yeah,
Cantonese who came to seek their fortune in tin. That's a different wave, we call it. It's a different wave. That's
interesting.
after the war. Now, it's important to note that these Babas educated themselves in English schools. Yeah.
Mhm,
The schools were very, very good schools. They made sure their children went for very good English education.
yeah,
And so they spoke very good English. And you can see how this was very attractive when the British took over, because first in Malacca, we had the Portuguese from 1511 to 1641. Oh,
mhm.
that's 150 years. I said 130 just now. See, dah tua, Nyanyo. And then the Dutch ruled us from 1641 to 1825. That's the
That's hundred years.
longest under
Yeah,
foreign control.
yeah,
And then after that was the British, right? So
yeah,
the British were like amazed that there were these people who were so refined, who
yeah.
spoke well and dressed well. And so it was very, they found them really, really important for civil work, for work in the civil service.
Yeah, interesting.
Mhm.
So, since you're telling me about these beautiful historical parts of the Peranakan community, do you think in your conference in November later you will showcase and display this sort of like old documentation of this how the Peranakan back then in the 1600s or 1700s they dressed up and then they traded and then they walk around the city and the next question will be, how has the Peranakan community adapted to changing social and cultural norms over the centuries? Like,
Okay.
Probably you
The
have.
convention we talk about later. I am
Oh,
going to
sure.
do
Yeah.
a small plug.
Okay.
You're going to give me a few minutes to do a small mini advert at that point, okay?
Sure.
But
Yeah.
no, we cannot show the whole history. Come on, Reza. My mother, my late mother's male cousin, we call him Uncle Alfred. Uh,
Uh-huh.
it is the founder of the Melbourne chapter. There are 15 associations of Baba Nyonya within
Wow.
this whole area, Nusantara or Southeast Asia, including Australia, including Thailand, including Indonesia. There are 15 associations, yeah? And
In
so
Asia
Uncle
Pacific as
Alfred
well.
founded the Melbourne chapter, and
Yeah.
Sim discovered that my mother's side, the first ancestor, the first person who came with the name Chi, the surname, Chinese we can trace because we have the last names, right? So the
Right.
last name Chi arrived around 1600 to Malacca.
Wow.
How am I going to show you what happened from 1600 till now?
That would be a very long exhibition, I think, but it would be a very beautiful exhibition. And then I think people will be very happy to learn about that because
Sure.
yeah, I think I love museums and I love to learn about the timelines in the history, like what happened in this year and that year, 10 years later. And especially that you mentioned about for 100 years, it was the with the Portuguese and then the Dutch and then the British. Like, how do you think, like over the centuries, these sort of foreign powers, as you or foreign controls, as you mentioned it, influence the metamorphosis or the shift of Peranakan culture throughout the centuries.
You mean
Or
how has it morphed to today?
yeah, or the Peranakan society or the community is holding on tightly to its own culture without, I mean, like trying to sort of guard themselves towards the foreign influence and keep it as original as possible.
Okay. Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. And
Yeah.
it's quite bad, when we talk among ourselves because, yeah, I won't say what, there's a little, yes, it's quite bad to say in public now, but there's a bit of snobbery there, right? So,
Yeah.
and it's hard. It's hard to cling on to this culture because, remember, I tie it back to what I said just now.
Mhm.
Firstly, there are no more arranged marriages. You try telling your daughter she has to marry so and so. It's not going to
Interesting.
happen.
Yeah.
So, tak pekat lagi. There's no more,
Yeah.
it's total dilution now. All right. So,
Yeah.
so the Babas and Nyonyas have married Chinese who came later, who have
Yeah.
married the Indians and other races and Portuguese. My own aunt, my dad's sister married a man of Portuguese descent.
Yeah.
And so that whole branch of the family, we have De Souza, Sequeira, De Costa, that's the surname.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a whole branch with those surnames. And so um, there's that, okay? And then the costume is so hard to wear daily. It is elaborate. It is not conducive to global warming. And then there is I blame the advent of TV and devices for everything because
Yeah.
whenever I see like the Alhambra, I think, oh, there was no TV. Look at what they could do
Right.
every night with a candle, right? So we have TV, and so no one sits to embroider anymore, does everything by
Right.
hand. Our pride and joy is all this used to be done by hand. The seams were all invisible, done by hand. Like the Malays, even, right? They had
Yeah.
the specific collar and they can show you the entire seam with invisible stitches. There was
Yeah.
pride in that, yeah, handiwork. And
Yeah.
there's a story about how you have to embroider your own slippers with beads, our famous kasut
Wow.
manit. You
Yeah.
have to show your future mother-in-law your handiwork before you get approved as a bride. I mean, I would fail totally. I'd be, you know, left on the shelf forever. That's a bad term. No, actually, all my friends are happily single. But the thing is, many friends. But the thing is, at that time, the whole point
Yeah,
was to get your children married off, right?
yeah.
And so all those arts and crafts and time-consuming things, even the cooking, I
Mhm,
cook
mhm.
I cook quick fries very well, and I cook Western dishes
Yeah,
excellently. But once in a while, when I crave a dish, I will do it from scratch. And boy, Reza, I start
yeah.
in the morning for dinner. So you can imagine
You spent
how
the whole day to
laborious,
prepare for dinner.
yeah, how laborious the recipes are.
Yeah.
And not forgetting, at that time, they had many, many kitchen helpers. They lived a life of
Exactly.
opulence.
Right. Yeah. And so are you saying that over the centuries, the Peranakan community is losing some of their sort of these little details of culture and tradition and customary values and practices like the embroidery, or I don't know, like probably a shift in the design of the kabaya or the costume, the colors itself, the patterns. Is it true? Is it happening nowadays?
So the we go back three questions, and the personal
Yeah.
story I wanted to tell you was I don't, there are some really traditional families till today who
Yeah.
practice ancestral worship. They lay all the lovely cooked food in front of the altar, the family altar.
Yeah.
Family altar, you pray every day, and then
Yeah.
special days, you lay out delicious food, 10 dishes, and all that. So there are still
Wow.
today many families who do that.
Uh-huh.
However,
Yeah.
I do not, because I am married to a Muslim man, and I'm a practicing
Wow.
Muslim.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yes,
Wow. Surprisingly.
yes, I will take that with a pinch of salt. And then, and then, but I do one thing though. On Chinese New Year Day, I remember
Yeah.
my grandmother, the matriarch, would sit on a very grand carved chair, and
Yeah.
all of us would line up and go on our knees and wish her.
Yeah.
And what we would say would be in Malay, "Panjang Panjang Umur," which is long life, Grandma.
Right.
And
Yeah.
she, in turn, would say health, or to different people, different wishes. To my brother, it would be
Right.
wishing you well in your forthcoming exams. And to my
Yeah.
father, it would be, may you get that next promotion, So it's
Right.
always about the elders giving you their heartfelt blessings. And I
Right.
do that till today. I do that because
Mm.
that's not Chinese New Year is not a religious occasion. You know that it's not a religious festival. It is based on
Right.
the new year is
The
based on the
lunar
first day of
calendar.
a lunar year
Right.
of the
Interesting.
lunar calendar, based on
Interesting.
the moon. So my children have to wish me that method. They have to wear their best, if not newest shirt, and wish me. Otherwise, I do not give that red packet. They said one day, one cheeky one, my younger son said, "Oh, I'm not well. Just send the packet over." I'm like, "What? No, no. You come
No, no,
tomorrow and wish me, and then you'll get it.
no, no blessing, no red pack, no red
No,
and
no shortcuts. Soja. That tradition is called soja.
soja.
And
Yeah.
yeah, many families carry it out. Now, the only thing I think, Reza, is we try, the associations are all trying to keep the culture alive.
Mhm.
And we thank movies like The Little Nyonya, the first one in 2008,
Yeah.
made by MediaCorp Singapore.
Yeah. I think I've seen that one too. Yeah.
And the second remake was in 2020.
Hmm.
Also, but it was done by a Chinese production house, I think. The
Yeah.
same story, and always speaking in Mandarin. But it reached these two reached such a wide audience, and China never knew much about us until these movies. And To be honest, when I first came to Kuala Lumpur in 1957, 58, oh, I'm giving away my age. No, 58, 59. Yeah, they would look at me and they say, but you're Chinese and you speak Malay to us, taxi men and vendors. Why? Why are you doing this? Can't you? And because in Kuala Lumpur, they speak a lot of Cantonese.
Right.
I
Yeah.
said, I'm sorry, I can't. Then you can do Hokkien. I said, no, I can't either. Surely you can speak Mandarin. No, sorry. So there you go.
Uh,
And so it was hard understanding us at the time. And then
yeah.
now we have a sequel. Are you watching it? You better be. It's called Emerald Hill on Netflix.
No, not yet. Not yet. I will. I will. I will. Yeah, I will watch
So
that.
this is
But the other one
appealing,
I
yeah,
did.
this is appealing to, people everywhere because the costumes are unique.
Exactly. Yeah.
The language, they throw in a sprinkling of Baba
Mhm.
Patois.
Mhm.
They throw in some phrases and words here and there, commonly used ones,
Yeah.
much to my delight, so that the
Yeah.
words are not forgotten.
Yeah.
And you know what? Our association did a survey. We asked hundreds of teenagers. I remember we broke them into three categories, middle age and elderlies,
Yeah.
what they'd like to see more from us um, as an association. I mean, if you were
Yeah.
part of this Baba Nyonya Association, what activities would you like? Would you like sarong tying? Would you
Exactly.
like to
Yeah.
learn about the language? Would you like to learn about our history, what happened in 1600? Guess
Right.
what we gave A, B, C, D, E, yeah? Guess
Right.
what the
Yeah.
overwhelming answer was? Guess.
Movies.
I give you one more try.
Um, Cooking class.
Yeah, everybody wanted us to hold more food programs, wanted to know
Right.
more about the food, where to get good food, how to cook good food. What
Yeah.
about historic dishes that are not made anymore? How can I make that? Where do I get those
Yeah.
ingredients?
Right. So, well, now since we're talking about movies and then food and everything else about the Peranakan culture, how has the or what are some of the notable examples of Peranakan architecture, art, or literature in the sense of movies that showcase their unique cultural identity? Or even the food? Is there like, for example, the Master Chef Peranakan version? I don't know.
Wow, you've given us an idea. Can you
Yeah.
talk to Netflix on our behalf?
I
Okay,
can
so
try. Yeah.
I think I have to mention. I was trying to think about it, but I mean the Babas and Nunyas, the height of their culture, their existence was between late 1800s
Yeah.
up to 1920s, the Art Deco period. Yeah.
Huh. Mhm.
I must say that the Second World War caused much devastation and the fall of many, many families.
Mhm. Yeah.
Malacca was ravaged. Malacca was
Yeah.
ravaged. There's no other word for it. Okay.
Yeah.
I won't begin to tell you my personal stories about those times. They went through a very hard time in Malacca, and some are still alive. My 90 over year old aunts have not forgotten. Now,
Mhm.
the houses in Malacca, if you ever visited the ancient street, the ones with the narrow ancient streets, one-way streets today, they should just close them up and make them pedestrian.
Yeah.
Have this concept of the long houses. So not long house as you see it in Sabah, Sarawak, but
Mhm.
the long meaning you see a very narrow frontage, a door and two windows, and
Yeah.
usually double story. But the
Yeah.
house, which starts in town, Malacca town,
Yeah.
the back could be overlooking the sea.
Oh, wow.
Now, I don't know exactly when they were built, but I look up and most of them around 1800.
Uh-huh.
So that was the time of the Dutch. And why they built the houses that way was the Dutch system of taxing you was on the width of your frontage.
Interesting. Yeah.
Think about Amsterdam, the houses beside the canal, same thing,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. Small, narrow,
Yes.
yeah,
So
fast
then the
connect.
architecture became very cute. It's based on old Chinese houses. First,
Yeah.
empty room, then a prayer room, the room where you meet guests, then
Yeah.
the prayer room where the altar is. Then before, and then in between that there is open as both stories are open to the sky for skylight.
Yeah.
We call that the air well. So we didn't, these houses had high ceilings and did not need air conditioning, I tell you. They had, later, they had ceiling fans, but that's the most they needed. They were very well ventilated, very cool to live in. They were very charming. They are still there. And then
Mhm.
I found these houses, the same structure existing in Phuket Old Town. And the
Wow.
same structure, someone told me, I have not been, yeah, that
Yeah.
in Guangdong and Guangzhou, they see the same houses. So,
And the same architecture.
yes, exactly like that. Room after room after room after
Yeah.
room. At the back, a vast kitchen. And
Yeah.
beyond that, it could be a tiny garden where
Yeah.
my late grandmother had a small, where she grew her own vegetables and
Yeah.
herbs. She reared some chickens and the famous outhouse.
Wow, I love the outhouse part. Yeah, I know. It's the interesting part of the house, right? So and then now apart from the conference that you'll be organizing in November, how do you think the Peranakan legacy can be preserved and promoted for future generations? And also apart from that, the fact that everybody is asking you to sort of create or organize this cooking demo or how to cook Peranakan cuisine.
Uh-oh. Okay, this is my plug. Yeah.
Yeah.
In November, I talked about the 15 federations. So we take turns to host what is called the International Peranakan Convention. And it
Yeah.
just means that it's not just one or two countries, it's many countries participating. Members of all the associations gather together.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-day, 2-night affair. It's usually held
Oh.
in a hotel, a good hotel of repute, and your all meals are provided. You know, you have lunch there and dinner. Dinner could be out at some other place or in the hotel itself, and
Mhm.
we have full program for that entire time, consisting of talks, seminars.
Yeah.
The welcome dinner will have definitely music. And you know our famous Dondang Sayang, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like poetry, it's like poems, it's like syair, but done with
Yeah.
a sing-song lilt, done with violin, accordions, and gongs.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there will be that, and there will be lots of dancing because mm, the babas and nyonyas love to sing and dance. I tell you, it's in the blood.
I
They
believe
they
so.
just
Yeah.
hear the strains of the sarunai and they're up there.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're on the floor.
So yeah, it used to be called joget lambat, right? Lambat
Yeah.
meaning everyone goes out there and just does their own thing. So joget
Right.
originated in Malacca, don't forget.
Yeah.
So there will be all of that and a few surprises which I cannot reveal now, but it's happening from November 21st to the 23rd, covering a weekend. It's always a weekend.
Mhm.
And please sign up, Reza, because you will have
I will.
a rollicking good time.
I will.
Yeah,
And I will
and
be in Kuala Lumpur this year.
because we are Kuala Lumpur and Selangor, so we
Right.
chose to have it in a hotel in Subang, which is actually borderline, so it's Selangor.
Yeah.
Because the hotel has to house 400 to 600 guests.
Wow.
Yeah, and the ballroom has to be big enough. And you're right, outside the ballroom, as you enter every day, there will be a bazaar, which we cutely call Babazaar. It's a play on the word Baba. So the bazaar will have everything, Baba Nyonya. They will be selling kabayas, the beautiful accessories
Right.
to match, batik
Yeah.
sarongs, of course,
Yeah.
and cookies and cakes, everything related to the culture
Yeah.
be found. So the public might be really interested. It's open to public. It's open to the public. That part you don't even have to pay. You just come and enjoy the
Yeah.
bazaar. Never again will you see so many stalls with a
Yeah.
theme. Usually there are pop-up bazaars everywhere, right? But this has
Right.
a specific Peranakan theme.
Please send us the invitation and we'll arrange accordingly our
Yeah,
schedule.
so
We'll
thank
go
you
to
for asking about it and giving me
yeah.
the chance to say that the theme
Yeah.
is bridging generations, preserving legacy. Our
Wow.
theme for
Right.
this year. So we
So
even have special programs for the young. I personally am
perfect.
sponsoring tickets for the young. My friends
Yeah.
and I've encouraged some very generous patrons and donors to
Yeah.
get, I mean, even if it's a few hundred ringgit, it's a lot sometimes for
Yeah.
someone who
Yeah.
loves the culture,
Yeah.
but am I going to spend it on this? So we are having a mini competition. Just maybe write in. We haven't worked out the mechanics, but tell us why you love the culture, why you want to come, and you may win a free ticket.
Right. Interesting. So you're engaging the younger generation
Yeah, we have to
so that,
pass we
yeah.
have to pass the baton, isn't it,
Exactly.
Reza?
Yeah, exactly. So now
Hmm.
we are coming to the last point of the talk.
Oh, have
This
we talked for 1 hour already?
yeah, almost 1 hour before we are taking there are some questions already on the list.
Oh
So
dear.
what message or theme do you think is more important to listeners for the audience of our podcast this afternoon to take away from the story of the Pranakan community?
Hmm. Okay. My other members may not agree with me because some are very they're traditionalists, yeah. So if I wear my kabaya with jeans, they might get upset. If I wear this kabaya open as a jacket, they're like, where are your brooches? So
Right.
I'm going to say my opinion, yeah.
Yeah.
Keep this lovely, rich, unique culture, guys. We have to adapt. We have to
Mhm.
change with the times. We have to permit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have to realize that we're not museum pieces. We're living alive. We're not just statues and pieces for you to admire and be in awe of. Till today, if I walk in my full kabaya and sarong, people say, "Wow, people still wear this?" They ask me. Okay. Then
Mhm.
I think for you, all you audience, after this, you can ask Reza for our website, our
Yeah.
Instagram. Connect with us, ask questions, enjoy our food, wear
Right.
batik sarongs. Maybe make sarong kabaya your Friday outfit. Maybe casual Fridays can be about that
Yeah.
instead of
Interesting.
t-shirt and jeans. How
Yeah.
about how about how about kabaya Saturdays or something? Okay.
Right.
Then I think we have to, dear um, snobby traditionalists, let's not ask everyone to prove they have quarter Peranakan blood or 1/8
Right.
or 1/16.
Right.
Let's
Embrace.
give you, yes. So, Reza, in our association today, we have members who
Yeah.
just love, 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 love the culture. They wear the kabaya more often than I do. They cook Nyonya dishes at home. They know everything about the culture, but they are not. They have no
Interesting.
uh,
Wow.
they are not of Baba Nyonya descent at all, but their love for it is amazing. Are you going to say that that person should not be allowed to
Yeah.
uh,
No.
enjoy
No.
our clothes, our
Yeah.
food, don't get amongst us? And
Yeah.
their houses are full of collectibles, objects to art, the kamche, the
More than what you have
carvings.
at home.
Huh?
More than what you have at home.
More than you see, it's quite modern in my home, I'm sorry to say. I mean, I have certain rooms, but I didn't want the whole house to look like a museum.
Uh,
But yeah, so let's be more, dear Babas and Nyonyas out there, let's be more inclusive.
of
Yeah.
course.
And
Yeah.
that way perhaps, because we do get university students inquiring, we
Mhm.
have academics asking more about it.
Yeah.
And so let's embrace all.
Exactly. Wow. Nyonya Vivian, thank you so much. Now let's take a few questions if you have 5 more minutes for us. First, since you've been sharing a lot about Peranakan communities, cultures in Malaysia, how do you see Peranakan scene in Indonesia? I've heard from Celia, Nyonya Celia, that you've been touring to some Indonesian cities. So what do you see about the scene in Indonesia? Is it different or is it the same or
I think the Babas and Nyonyas in Indonesia um, really, really celebrate their Peranakanness in a wonderful way. They are, I don't know if they have always been proud to show off that they are Baba or Nyonya, but in recent years, ever since the big tour we did of all the batik making, we did a tour of all the batik making centers, yeah, including Pekalongan, Lasem,
wow?
Tangerang,
Yeah,
Jakarta. We toured a lot of cities, and wow, the Baba Nyonya culture is thriving, let me
it's
tell you.
alive. Right.
Yeah, as you said, the restaurants,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, and I think a lot of you also speak like Gua Lu. Even the young today, and that's us, because that's from Hokkien, Gua Lu. You know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Especially the young people in
They've
Jakarta.
taken to that, right? Am I
Yeah.
right? I hear it a lot in Indonesia, more than
Yeah.
I hear it among the Malays here. So, I think Indonesia, it's not at risk and because the kabaya is, as I said, it's daily wear for them. They have so
Yeah.
many variations, and
Mm.
Indonesians, come on, as a race, they're so creative, so artistic. You
Yeah.
know, I go online and I've learned 5 different ways to tie my sarong, which I never knew about.
And you learned that from Indonesian Peranakan community.
Yes, because it is shown by the sarong, the person who sells batik sarongs, the hand painted batik sarongs. Of course, we do them here. We
Yeah.
have in
Yeah.
Malaysia, we have
Yeah.
batik Terengganu, batik Kelantan, a
Right.
lot of Malaysian batik, but
Yeah.
they're really bad to admit, but I really like the very fine tulis ones from Indonesia.
Right. Interesting. Well, that's good to know. Now, the next question. Is there any aspect in belief or spirituality that is unique in Peranakan Chinese? For example, the superstitious or myth belief that you think that is still embraced and believed by the Peranakan community. Like, I don't know, like the ghost story, or as you mentioned, the altar and the offering for the elderlies, or I don't know.
We are predominantly Chinese, so we descended from the Chinese. We got all the Chinese superstitions and all the Malay ones as well. Yes, 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 we do have them. And I can't remember them all because naturally, personally, I'm not a superstitious person.
Mhm.
However, I do remember things like you cannot sweep your house on Chinese New Year Day. You will be sweeping away all the bad luck. So you clean and mop and kemas rumah the day before, the week before. So your house is sparkling on Chinese New Year
Right.
Day, but not on the day itself. They
Interesting.
really, really believe in
Yeah.
ancestral worship.
Yeah.
Respect to elders is a must.
Yeah.
So sometimes you see there will be a wooden board above the front door of the house or above the family altar. Ours in our house said, always respect your elders. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, and some say, the family means unity. Big philosophical sayings like that. And yeah, no, we have all the superstitions. Don't worry. I'm not sure about ghost stories, but yeah, things like that. What to do on what day, what not to do. They love the number 8, of course, just like the Chinese. And yes, they
Right.
love to gamble. They used to play an ancient game called Chucky. Turkey, which doesn't exist anymore, but it's
Wow.
kind of the same rules as mahjong, and we're trying to
Yeah.
revive that too.
That's interesting. Yeah. Wow. Now the last question. Do you see Peranakan culture as more of a historical legacy or a living tradition?
It's both.
Last question. Okay.
It's both. So it is a beautiful legacy that has been handed down to us. It grew organically, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
in 1920, my grandmother wouldn't have known that I'd be talking about this like this today. In
Yeah.
1950, my mother was still wearing Western dresses to her work as a personal secretary. Yeah.
Yeah.
But today, Nyonyas are something else.
Yeah.
And there are only, did I mention there are only 2,000 or less people who speak the patois fluently? There are only less than
Oh,
2,000 in the world. So we're
wow.
thankful for that beautiful legacy. Thank you for the colors and the gorgeous porcelains in pink and turquoise. Thank you for the genes which make us love to dance and sing. But
Yeah.
we must, as I said, keep it alive. Keep thinking of innovative ways, creative ways to engage with the young. Actually, maybe talk to Duolingo, like put the language in as one of the languages or something. Just keep things alive. It's not easy. And every time we brainstorm, we're trying to think of ways to get the young involved and interested.
Wow, very, very insightful. So, I believe, I think the conference or the convention that you mentioned that will be taking place in November will be a way to sort of keep the tradition, the legacy alive, and also to bring what is gone to life again, correct? Like the game, and then I don't know, the embroidery, the patterns, the tradition of
Mhm.
well,
Yes, we will be having seminars and
uh,
workshops. There will be,
right.
you're right, I forgot to mention that. There'll be embroidery workshop, kasut manik workshop, cooking workshop by famous chefs, not yet Netflix, but our
Yeah.
chefs are world famous, let me tell you. Chef Debbie Teo. We have an author in our midst who was our past president. She was a founding member and the first president, Nyonya. Dr. Lee Soo Kim has written 15 books on Nyonya
Wow.
stories.
Wow.
So we have you asked you I did think of mentioning arts and crafts to you. So we have all of that book reading, embroidery, everything in store for you in
Mm-hmm.
November.
Oh, there is there's not the last point from the audience, but I will not mention the name. Wonderful conversation between Reza and Vivian. Now we have to make a trip to Timor-Leste to find more Peranakan communities in this region. Vivian, your last message probably before we this has been very wonderful and insightful podcast. I know like 1 hour is not enough, but please, what about the Peranakan community in Timor-Leste as the president of the Peranakan in Kuala Lumpur and Selangor? What would be your vision on this?
For the Peranakans there,
Yeah,
oh, to be proud of your culture,
yeah,
to share it with others. Culture is not to practice among a small group of people,
yeah,
because then it doesn't bode well for longevity, does it?
exactly.
So yeah, so as I said, continue wearing it, enjoy the culture, the clothes, the food, the joget.
Yeah,
And even if they're making hundreds of copies of the Nyonya porcelain on streets today,
yeah,
it's fine because
yeah,
it reminds you of how we used to serve everything in those beautiful dragon and phoenix pots. By the way, the phoenix because it denotes the the matriarchal infrastructure of the homes, yeah, always the phoenix. So even it's like that, even to hold your snacks, your kwachi, is a beautiful pot, a shallow pot with a handle. Yeah, so go ahead. If you're going to make that, make 100 copies of that, go ahead, because it reminds us of what we used to use.
Interesting. Everybody, Vivian Lee Swilian, the president of Persatuan Baba Nyonya, Kuala Lumpur and Selangor, also wife, again, mother, grandmother, activist, yoga, mindfulness teacher, and a lot more. Thank you so much, Nyonya Vivian, for your time and for your insightful stories. And then, of course, everybody, you're invited to come to the convention of Peranakan community in Kuala Lumpur in November from the 21st to the 23rd. So it will be in the next 3 months. So mark your calendar, make sure you are attending this, and then you will learn a lot more about Peranakan community, not only in Malaysia, but also in the region, because there are also people coming from as far as Australia, right?
Australia, Indonesia, Thailand.
Perfect. Interesting. Again, Nyonya Vivian, thank you so much. Asians, thank you so much. Wherever you are in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, the Philippines, or even beyond other countries, thank you so much for watching this beautiful, insightful discussion on Peranakan legacy in Southeast Asia. And I'll see you again in the next Viewpoint episode with another speaker. So stay tuned and have a good evening. Nyonya Vivian, thank you so much one more time. And let's stay in touch. Let's stay in touch.
Thank you. Thank you, Reza, for giving me this opportunity.
The pleasure is ours. It's been wonderful. I was looking forward to this since I was doing this long journey all the way to Timor-Leste. I was like, I need to be home.
See you in November. Jangan lupa.
I will. All right. Bye-bye. Have a good evening. Vivian. Yeah.